Hey, we're live.
Good morning.
Got some early birds. And look, Dominic is here. Mackenzie's here. Lauren's here. Elijah's here. There's 4. Who else is with us today? Let's see some names.
Right now a 3 out of 4. They're mine. I mean, I'm just saying.
Evie just popped up. She's mine.
That's a new name.
Yeah.
That's great.
Awesome. Thank you, Kiwi. It's nice to see you. I mean, your name pop up in a chat. You know, not seeing you. Like, we can't see you, but come on, we need some more names. Can't start till we get a few more names down there. Andrew Nan in the house. He's coming for the game. Did he win yesterday? Who won yesterday? I know I had second.
Lauren won yesterday.
Maya Plank. Nice.
Maybe today, Andrew. Maybe today.
Got some names. So
Daniel's here again.
While we're getting people chiming in and telling us they're here, I'm writing some names down. I did end up giving a couple bonus points yesterday.
I did too. I didn't even say anything because you didn't say anything about bonus points, and I was like, I'll just be nice and throw them in.
Yeah.
You know, what's hard though is like I have some people that show up here, which is great, and like you're getting bonus points, and like, oh, I got these bonus points, but they're not turning in like other assignments, and so like your grade's not going to be good if all you do is show up on Fridays and don't turn
the bonus points aren't going to take care of it. Get yourself in the mood and get it taken care of. It's not that hard. My grades are good. I'm really proud of my kids right now. My grades have really gone up.
Well, you said like that Saturday like helped some people out, so
maybe the avoidance.
I am making a list for the 27th for parents that I'm going to be contacting about Saturday.
Lauren said not if she's playing.
Oh, yeah. Because Andrew said maybe today. All right. Who else did I miss? Andrew, Kenzie, Elijah, Lauren. I feel like I missed somebody else. That was mine.
So we got some stuff to talk about here. I want to get into it. I don't want to wait too long. I hate when you get in a meeting and they wait 4 or 5 minutes to start the meeting because they're waiting for the stragglers to show up.
On time every day.
We like to see names. We like to see people say hello in the chat. So we'll give it another couple seconds. A couple more hellos would be nice, and then we're off and running. Demystifying homeostasis. One of the hardest units that we're doing all year, guys. This is it. Like if you can understand this and you can knock this out of the park, you're in great shape. See, Ricardo just popped in.
Yep. Just wrote his name down. Then I was going to say hello. Beat me to it, Mr. Suter.
Oh, Libby Houston in the house. I'm writing it down. I don't know. Maybe bonus points. Who knows? That I feel like we have a couple new names here today. It always takes a while to get that number to bump up to how many people are watching.
Between bioenergetics and homeostasis, yeah, Lauren, those are the ones that we tend to get the lowest percentages on, that people struggle with. So that's why we say that.
It might not seem like the hardest, but I guess when they ask those questions on the Keystone, it turns out to be the hardest. But we're gonna make you understand it in a way, right? My homie. There's a story. Yes, all of our homies are in the house. All right.
Homeostasis. That's funny. I'm just saying. Punny. Oh, it's like Mr. Beichler. He's here. We should have him come in and jump in and guest with us again.
Do a couple puns like he did last year. Let's get into it a little bit. Homeostasis. We talked yesterday. We gave you some brilliant pictures. Salt water, the little toy from your childhood. We tried to connect homeostasis to some things that you see in everyday life. Being not that we drop you in a boat in the Susquehanna River and every day, but we tried to connect some things. So Mackenzie says, Mackenzie, I taught with him for like 12, 13, 14 years at the high school. You're right. His jokes are not funny. Let me ask you a question. First of all, in the chat, all four in your response. We'll see who gets it the fastest. We've asked this before. We're going to ask it one more time. What are the four major organic molecules? In the chat. 15-second delay. We got to sit here and wait while people type. The four major organic molecules. I feel like we need the Jeopardy music when we do this. Four major organic molecules coming into the chat any second now.
Who's going to be first? Is it going to be Suter? Is it going to be a Smith? Suter Smith. Suter Smith. Oh, almost at the same time, but
it's kind of looking like a Suter to me.
I've got two Smiths in there, you know.
Libby knocking it out of the park. Protein, lipid, carbohydrates, nucleic acids. Andrew got it. Lauren got it. Awesome. You know, this is one of those things. I mean, we keep saying it over and over. We're saying it over and over because you need to be able to say it over and over really quick. This is really important. Super important. Now, I have another question. Mrs. Smith, this question could make us both feel like a failure. I've been asking students this question. They've been looking at me kind of weird. What element, when you see an organic molecule, you know it's an organic molecule because it's made mostly of this element. What is the element of life? The most important element can create. I'm not going to say anything more. Like, you should know it. You see a molecule, it's made up mostly of this. You go, oh, that's organic right away. What is that element?
I have faith that my students are not only going to give you this element, but they can also tell you where it comes from.
I'm hiding.
Like where it mostly comes from in order to.
Look at that. Andrew, Lauren, Elijah, Libby, Kiwi, Maya. You got it. Oh, you guys and gals. My homies. That's because I'm not supposed to say you guys. My homies rock. They're rocking. Look at that. That's awesome. All right. Now, it gets a little bit harder. I was going to start with some questions. If we needed to create a barrier and we wanted that barrier to be able to repel water, all right, so I want you to make me a barrier that can repel water. Which of the four organic molecules are you going to use? This gets a little more complicated now because we never really talked about this. But with some deductive reasoning, some life experience on your part, you should be able to come up with it. Which of the four major organic molecules would you use to create a barrier that can repel water? Nobody saw that. I'm not sure what was that to? I missed it. I guess I didn't see it.
Libby again. Rockstar today.
Lipid. Yes. Nice. Not going to point out that she's one of mine. So last question. Do you think anybody will get this, Mrs. Smith? Why? Why can lipids repel water? Or why do lipids repel water?
This is like a complicated question because you have to think about what you know about water, what you know about lipids. I think they might say something other than what we're thinking about, but hopefully they'll get to it. Fingers crossed.
Oh, because they're hydrophobic. Why are they hydrophobic?
I mean, that's
a point on a test. Now, why are they hydrophobic? The second part of the essay question is, why are they hydrophobic? Oh, careful, Livy. You're on a roll there, but you're losing it with the heads because the heads are not hydrophobic and they're not a lipid. I know what you're talking about. We're going to talk about that today. I think Twisted Foxy needs to get back into the right chat. He's over in some Marvel universe and he's on the wrong. He's putting comments in the wrong chat. Their tails, but why
Tails
are
are
they
hydrophobic. But why are they hydrophobic? What does hydrophobic mean in terms of science-y words?
This is so much fun. Maybe not for them. It's
and like we can't give too much, because if we give too much, then we give the answer. But like, gotta get them there. They can do it.
It doesn't like water. Right. That's awesome.
Right. Why?
I feel like a 2-year-old. Why?
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 Why doesn't it like water? Why? Why is it hydrophobic? See, here's the thing. You guys actually know this. You know the answer. You've been taught the answer. The problem is we've never made the connection. So we're trying to demystify homeostasis for you. We're trying to say, hey, look, everybody does pour on this section on the keystone, but you don't need to do pour on this section because you actually know this stuff. So to make that happen, all we have to do is make a couple connections. If you get a couple connections in your head, like I know if the water's too salty, I add more water. I know if I have to row upstream, I'm using energy. I know like this block won't fit in that hole. If you understand those basic concepts, those things that you are connected to, this stuff becomes super, super easy. So we're not going to torture you anymore. I'm going to give you the answer, but I think it will.
Lauren.
Look at that, Lauren Pritt. That's sweet. All right, let's give them the answer, even though Lauren just gave it. Let's demystify it just a little bit. So I got a piece of paper here. I'm going to draw on my piece of paper an oxygen atom, and it looks like an O for oxygen, right? Oxygen atoms have, I'm going to guess 8 electrons. So we have 2 in the first energy level. That gives us 6 in the outer energy level, right? So if I put those 6 electrons around my big O for oxygen, it would look like that. I mean, sort of. And then I'm going to add, because we're making a water molecule here, I'm going to add 2 hydrogens to that. So let's put a hydrogen here and a hydrogen here, because they each have 1 electron. So they're going to end up sharing. That goes back to like the covalent bonds and all that wonderful stuff, which you know. And the other thing you know is we talked about how oxygen is greedy. I mean, like, it's greedy. And it's big. It's much bigger than the hydrogen atoms. So if you're a big, greedy oxygen atom and you need those extra electrons to fill that outer shell, how often are you going to share yours with hydrogen? And how often are you going to take hydrogens? And the answer is you're going to take them most of the time. So I'm just going to like kind of draw this real light just to point that out. So that's pointing out that the oxygen atoms are taking 2 electrons most of the time. Question for the chat. You ready? If oxygen atoms are stealing these 2 electrons, or not stealing them, but sharing them most of the time, what does that do to the charge of oxygen? Because now it has 10 electrons instead of 8. It only has 8 protons. So the charge of oxygen would become what? What would the charge on the oxygen atom become because of that? I can make those hand shadows again. Libby, you were right.
Starting to like write on my page, like we're writing on the same paper and we're not.
Real quick, come on in the chat. What happens to the charge of oxygen?
Negative.
Oh, somebody said it. Good. So the oxygen has this like kind of negative charge. If the hydrogens are losing their electrons most of the time, they have 1 proton now and 0 electrons, they are going to become what? Mackenzie, don't put a question mark. Be confident. You're right. You're exactly right. What happens to the hydrogen? They become. Do we wait?
It's going to pop up here. Because they know it.
Do we wait? You know, if we sat real still,
Positive. Woo.
They would think that. Thank you, Keith.
It's all 4 at the same time.
And Andrew and Lauren. Yeah, they're positive. So here's the answer.
Oh, I was sitting really still the other day, and they thought it froze.
Here's the answer to your question. So why do lipids, why aren't they attracted to water? Why are they hydrophobic? I love that somebody threw that word out. That's awesome. Because they are not charged. So water is a polar molecule. And because it's polar, it's going to attract to things. So it's going to attract to things that are polar, and it's not going to attract to things that are non-polar. It's actually not going to, attract to them. So when we talk about homeostasis, the whole thing here is how do we create an environment? Think about this. How do we make an environment where we can separate the inside of the cell from the outside of the cell? And then still be able to move things from the outside of the cell in and things from inside of the cell to out. That's the whole goal. And if you get that we need to create this environment where we separate the inside from the outside and we're still able to move things back and forth, and how we move, that's the whole unit. And that's where the hypertonic and hypotonic came in. That's where the isotonic came in. We talked about that with concentration. Now Mrs. Smith is going to tell you how we can use this little fact that water is polar, or not how we can, how life did. All life on Earth has used this little fact from the very lowliest bacteria cell all the way up to a human being, has used this one little fact to create an environment inside the cell that's separated from the outside. How do they do that, Mrs. Smith?
So if we think about it, okay, and you think about a human, because you're pretty, no humans, and they say that your body is mainly composed of water. Okay, when you think about it, like a lot of times when we say that, you said, "Oh yeah, you're mainly water." Everybody goes, "Oh yeah, there's a lot of water. I drink a lot of water." We're not talking just about the water that comes into your body, but your blood is a liquid that's mainly made of water. Your cells have cytoplasm that are mainly made of water. So if you're made up of a ton of cells, and your blood and your organs that are made up of cells, you have water, and you have water that's inside and outside of the cell. And so Mr. Shooter asked you, and he said, like, so how do we, what is something that does not interact with water? And you all said lipids. So essentially, in order to separate the different areas of an organism or different cells from an outside organism, they need a barrier. Okay, if we didn't have walls of our house, you wouldn't have a house. You would just be in the open air, which isn't bad all the time, but we like to have something that's containing everything. And so, when we talk about a cell, then we need some kind of barrier. So then we start to bring in these phospholipids, okay, because we've got water up here, which is outside of the cell. We've got water down here, which is inside of the cell. So I'm going to write inside cell. I'm going to write outside cell. And so then we have these lipids. And so let's make a phospholipid. Okay, it looks like this. It's a circle. This right here is a phosphate head. And then we have two tails. Okay, so these down here are our fatty acids. So the fat part of that's our lipids. The phosphate head is a phosphate. So this portion up here, the phosphate head, is polar. The fats are non-polar. So if we have water that's outside of the cell and water that's inside of a cell, can we just have a barrier that looks like this with a bunch of, wow, that really didn't make them long enough, but has a bunch of phosphate heads and a bunch of fatty acid tails? Does that work? If I have water inside and outside the cell, phosphate head is our hydrophilic polar portion. Tails are our fatty acids, non-polar hydrophobic portion. Does that work? Can I do that? Is life happy with that? I feel like I gotta
Seems a little suspect to me.
if water's inside of our cells, it doesn't want to interact with these tails. So what happens? Instead of having one single layer going across, creating one single layer, thank you, Libby, again today, you need the bottom layer. And so it's not just a secondary layer that's in the same order that you're like piling on top of each other. Life has switched it around and made it so the outside of the cell, or the inside of the cell rather, again, has the tails on the inside. So they've created this layer on the inside and outside of the cell that is polar and is happy to interact with water, and a protected insulator, because fats are insulators, right? That has insulated the layer of the cell membrane of the cell, okay, and is protected against the water. Now, if I am a very small non-polar molecule, I can still move through that because it doesn't matter if I'm non-polar, I'm not going to interact with either of the sides of the membrane. And so I'm going to be able to diffuse going from a higher concentration to a lower concentration, like from inside of the cell to the outside of the cell. So I'd be going from where I have particles that are high to particles are low, and I'm just going to diffuse through. But if I am a larger molecule, if I am a polar molecule, I can't interact with these fatty acid tails. I can't do that. So I need something. What do I need? And we talked about this yesterday. So I'm hoping that someone very, very quickly, I know there's the delay, is going to be able to tell me what we need within this phospholipid.
So is there a organic molecule that we know about who its whole, like, when we make it, the whole like production of that organic molecule is based around its shape? Right? Because we saw with the toy yesterday, different shapes let different shapes through, right? So maybe I gave him too much, Mrs. Smith, but I'm just thinking maybe there's an organic molecule that we know about that everything that it does is always based on its shape.
All right, Libby deserves bonus points today, Mr. Suter.
She's
knocking it out of the park. I mean, Lauren and everybody has been right behind her, but she's really like popping in there. Okay, good. We need proteins. And so we kind of always draw them like this. And we say, okay, there's this like purple blob in the middle of our phospholipid bilayer. And it's like this tube there. Okay, but I want you to remember, like Mr. Shooter said, that this is a biomacromolecule that's folded. And so it's folded into a specific shape that is dependent upon what can go into it, like that sorter. So if you're a star, you're only going to fit in the star. If you're a heart, you're only going to fit in the heart. Okay, and so specific proteins have specific things that go into it. So if you remember, at the beginning of the year, when you would come to school and they would say everybody with the last names A through M or whatever it was has to go in the music room doors. And so that would be the doorway for you to enter into the cell, aka the building. And then if you had this name to this name, you entered in through the middle doors. And if you had this name to this name, you entered in through the admin or gym doors or whatever they had you enter into. So there were specific places that you went into. That was your protein. That was the one you were labeled to go into. And so, same thing if you're taking an airplane, if you're taking a train, you go to the specific location, the terminal that is going to be where your plane, your train is going to be. And if you don't have the right ticket, you can't get into that terminal. Okay, so if you don't have the right ticket, you can't go into this protein, you can't leave the cell, or you can't come into the cell. And so proteins, there's going to be different types. Some of them are going to be part of what we call facilitated diffusion, where we're still going from a high concentration to a low concentration, but you have a specific shape, you're polar, you need some help. And then there's going to be the uphill battle where you're going against the gradient and it actually needs to be pumped. So think about like a waterfall. Okay. When you have those like, or water features, like in, like you walk into a restaurant and there's like this, oh, look, it's a pretty waterfall. Where is the water coming from? Well, there's a pump at the back of the waterfall that's pumped up to the top. It takes energy to get there. We saw specifically pumps inside of cellular respiration. When we talked about the electron transport chain, we talked about moving those hydrogen atoms to the intermitochondrial membrane and then them coming down the ATP synthase. We've been talking about this without specifically talking about homeostasis, but that's all part of that same part. And I know we don't want to talk too long about this. We just wanted to kind of introduce this idea of proteins and talking and kind of trying to get you to know, you already know some of this stuff. It's just thinking about it in the specific vocabulary of homeostasis.
So there's proteins that when you add energy, and if I say energy, everybody in the chat types what energy I'm talking about, but there's proteins that if we add energy to them, they change their shape. And so when we learned about proteins, we learned about denaturing them through pH and temperature, and they wouldn't work anymore. And so why is that a problem? Well, if you have a protein that will take a molecule and then change its shape based on energy. Thank you. Look at all the ATP showing up. You guys rock. That's how we get it through. So shape in proteins is really important. So if you think back to the beginning of the year, carbohydrates, talked about those a lot when we talked about bioenergetics. Now lipids and homeostasis. Back to proteins and homeostasis. The only one we really haven't talked about too much is nucleic acids. But wait, adenosine triphosphate is a nucleic acid. So right now we have basically talked about all of them again. And the last thing I'll say is this is what I like about science. Like, how amazing is this? We've just demystified the cell membrane. Like life, the whole thing that allows a cell to form and work is the cell membrane, and you understand it. In fact, if you take the greatest scientists that have ever lived, Darwin, Mendel, whatever, and you could sit down with them for 20 minutes and explain to them what you know about homeostasis, you would blow their mind. Because they didn't know it. Not the way you know it. You are actually, a lot of those scientists that we revere, you're more knowledgeable than them. So what are you going to do with that knowledge? Anything to add before we gamify this?
No, that's great.
It blows my mind, Mrs. Smith. And to think about like all these little like phosphate heads and fatty acid tails and them just kind of, because of that polarity, forming into a cell membrane. Just, it's amazing. It is.
True.
Uh-oh. I feel it coming, Mrs. Smith.
The Blue-Kit.
The Blue-Kit.
By popular demand. Ugh. I feel like we got some new names that like popped in here.
I know, it's going to make the game even more interesting today.
You have to understand, like, the more you study science, the more amazing it gets. Like, I know, like there's still new stuff all the time. Just saying.
And there's still stuff that we don't know why it happens. Like, what is that about? Like, we know so much, but then there's these things that we don't know.
Time for Blue-Kit.
You're about to cry because every time they beat up on me, Andrew. Don't make fun of me. I'm not participating.
So you're not this guy.
It's too much stress in my life.
You know what's stressful too? The fact that it's still snowing outside. At least it is here. Or it was. I can't really see out the window right now. It's just white.
Really, all we're going to get today is 9 players. Where are all these people that aren't joining us? They're missing out.
Well, where's Libby? She's been answering all the time.
Yeah, I thought she'd be my homie or something in there.
Maybe she just doesn't want to.
Mine's not working. What's not working, Libby?
I don't know. And apparently there's a Cosdrin Zoom coming up.
Oh, sorry, Nim. I really wanted you to play the game with us today.
Try, I don't know. Refreshing. Go into Bluegit.com instead of Bluegit.com/play and pressing game in the middle, and maybe it'll load up. I don't know.
That stinking Mrs. Cosdrone holding the class when we're doing this, that's just not fair. What's the matter with that? It's quite the squirrel. She's quite the squirrel, that Mrs. Cosdrone.
Oh my goodness, I missed that for a second. A lot of these are freshmen and they don't have, like a lot of these students are freshmen, they don't have Mrs. Cosdrin yet. They don't know about her love of squirrels. This name.
Libby, can you play it on your phone, Libby?
Oh, Libby's on.
Ah, there we go.
All is right in the world.
I think we're about right. You can start late.
Yes. 223-709.
We're missing who else are we missing? We're missing a couple of people. Anthony, I missed Anthony jumping in. Hey, Anthony.
Yeah, Kenzie. Like I don't see her in the blue kit. Oh, I forgot. I'm the one that has to start it.
Sorry. Are you in the blue kit? I don't see Kiwi either.
Yeah, where's Keeney? Kenzie
Come
Keeney.
on.
All right, I'm gonna get started.
And Keith joined late too. Here we go.
I did not share the quiet music.
The war is on. Are you playing, Mrs. Smith?
I am not playing. My arm hurts right now, and it's all that writing, like, hurt. It takes effort and 2 hands to play. So, I'm sorry. Are you playing? Are you this guy?
I'll never talk. I'll never say.
Take all the money from this guy.
That's not nice.
Oh, Keeney got in there. And I don't know if she intentionally put in Keeney and not Kenzie, but it's Keeney again. And I like it.
Wow, 3 people just took gold from me.
Sorry, I added you. Just a reminder that, like, if anybody needs assistance with other assignments today, all you need to do is ask. You know, I had a student that joined me yesterday that made up like 6 assignments in like 20 minutes with me. That's pretty cool. You're not bantering because you're playing. So I feel like it should distract you.
I know. Andrew just took money from me.
2 minutes and 30 seconds left.
Libby!
I know. I feel like I always watch Ricardo and Andrew because I feel like they are just Trying to see who can win out of the two of them.
I don't understand this question. Does ADP have stored chemical energy usable for the cell? And then your choices are sun, chloroplast, ATP, and yes.
That tells me that I copied a question and didn't actually change all the answers. Sorry, Mr. Suitor. I will try and fix it, but not right this second because there's only 1:30 left in this game. I'll give you a hint. There's only one answer in there that makes sense. Not really even, but that's okay.
No, that was hard. I had to think about it, and then I lost 50% of my gold for thinking about it.
That's the thing that's hard in this game is like you can get the questions correct and mess up. Oh, Dom has to go. Bye, Dom. You might have left already, but thanks for coming.
Yeah, there's a couple weird ones. What is it called when respiration has oxygen? Probably has oxygen.
Well, when we decided that we were going to play a game very close to, so sorry. Yeah. Should have prepped better.
No, that's all right. I need a swap with somebody. I have nothing.
And there's 20 seconds left. Does it make you click? Like, I wonder if you have a swap. Can you hold off until like 1 second too and then press it if it's there? Or does it make it go on? I don't remember. Uh-oh. Ricardo and Andrew top. Ricardo's winning right now. Let's see if it stays that way. Oh, no. Andrew's not going to hear the end of it for a while.
I got crushed. Now, listen, I just want to, for the next time we play this, I want to say this. As fun as it is to always steal my money and swap with me, you are losing to Ricardo and Andrew because you're not taking from the person with the most gold. I just want to throw that out. I know that it's fun to crush me and make your teacher show up in 10th place. But you're killing yourselves. And you're giving Andrew and Ricardo gloating rights. Rosa in third, though. Nicely done, Rosa. All right.
Well, it's after 11 o'clock, Mr. Suitor.
It is. It's time for us to
time for lunch.
Although I can't tell you how much I enjoy these romper room sessions. They won't know what romper room is. Look it up. These romper room sessions that we have with these kids. But all right. Thank you all for coming. We love it.
See you.
It's so much fun in a Zoom session.
On Monday. See you on Monday.
Yeah. I might see you on Monday too. All right. Later. Love you guys.